This episode of Fluid Power Forum is sponsored by IFP Motion Solutions Incorporated, the leader at engineering electronics into fluid power distribution. IFP spans the 13 central states from Minnesota to Texas. For more information, visit ifpusa.com.
There's AR glasses that are out there now are not like the old Microsoft big, heavy goggles. These are really kind of like a little bit bigger than the Meta. Well, they're about the same size as the Meta glasses that are out there.
Right.
They're real screens. I have a pair of these. I can put them on that I can actually see real computer screens. And I think that's going to be the next thing we're going to see, movement towards moving away from a display on the actual remotes to one that you wear. So that augmented reality will become more and more prevalent.
Yeah. Welcome to Fluid Power Forum, a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, and it's my job to interview interesting people who are moving fluid power technology forward. If you'd like to be part of the show, you can follow us on LinkedIn. You'll find us there at the National Fluid Power Association. And make sure to keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. And you just might hear it discussed on a future episode of Fluid Power Forum. Also, please subscribe to our show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, all the other very popular podcatch and services. Wherever you find us, go ahead, subscribe to the show, and then give us a quick rating. Those ratings really do help promote the show and allow more and more of our friends in the industry to join in on these important conversations. One category of people who are moving the fluid power industry forward are the presenters at the IVT Off-Highway Vehicle Technology Conference and Expo 2025. IVT is a major event for the fluid power companies and offers a massive opportunity to demonstrate some of the best that the fluid power industry has to offer. On this episode, we'll be talking to Jason.looman and Andy.gray of Scanrico Group. They presented information regarding the newest in smart human-machine interfaces, or HMIs, and their importance in electrohydraulic equipment. Jason and Andy have agreed to join our show and talk more on this topic. So welcome to Fluid Power Forum, Jason and Andy.
Thanks for the invite.
Glad to have you both
Thank you, Eric.
on the show.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you both on the show. You guys play an interesting role in the fluid power industry, and it's always exciting to hear about some of the advances that you guys are bringing forth. But maybe do a better job than I just did introducing yourselves to our listeners. Tell us more about yourself and your background. Jason, can you go first with that?
Yeah, so Jason.looman, I'm president of Scanrico North America. So I oversee both our companies in Canada and the U.S. I've been in the industry on and off since 1999, working with remotes, putting remotes on mobile equipment.
And Andy, how about you?
Yeah, I've been working in the industry for about 11 years. I've been with Scanrico for 7.5 years. I actually worked for a competitor as one of my first jobs out of school, and
A competitor to Scanrico, you mean?
Correct.
Yes. Well, we won't mention who that is.
No.
Great. And how long? So tell us more about Scanrico as a company. What exactly does it do?
Andy, go for it. I'll let you go with this one.
Of course. Well, simply speaking, we partner with machine builders to unlock the full potential of the operator in a remote and autonomous world. So we partner with OEMs and hydraulics distributors and electronics distributors to design remote control systems for machines.
I'm going to imagine that the landscape for that has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years or so.
Extremely. When we first started in this industry, it was we were having a lot of conversations about the safety of a radio frequency signal.
Right.
Now those conversations are rarely had because it's known as a safe alternative.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of development as we've mentioned. And the presentation that you guys gave at the IVT Expo, I guess a few months ago now, was about smart interfaces in electrohydraulic equipment. But you had a twist, if you will, on that. And because as I recall the presentation, you guys really emphasized the role of the operator in designing and implementing those systems. Why do you think the human factor has been so overlooked?
We see that I think people get into just doing the same thing over and over again. It's that old adage. I think somebody once said that the reason wheels on a car are a certain distance from each other, or normally was because that had to be related to the train tracks,
Right. Yeah.
right? And then if you looked at that, and somebody claims those were the width of 2 oxen. I don't know if that's true or not,
I've
or if
heard
that's
that.
an old wives' tale.
I've heard that story
But
too, right? From like the Roman
yeah,
chariots are built on the same system, right? Or built the same
yeah,
width, right?
it's something crazy like that. And I think that's happened over the years with different types of equipment and how people have been working with the operators, right? A lot of when we got into the industry, or when I got in '99, it was, hey, we're going to make this, we're going to put a remote on this piece of equipment. Here's what the levers look like now. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of did that, right? But they forgot that that may have been designed because it involved a chair. It was the way the technology worked at that time. So those things kind of stick over time. And people have done that. They've designed remotes, not actually thinking about how the equipment would work or how it was working without actually going to ask the humans out in the field.
Yeah.
And that's where the twist we've been seeing a lot is that people forget about, well, what does the operator think, or how do they like to work, or what are they used to? And I think we mentioned this at the show too. There's been such a switch over the last couple of years. I like to say I'm one of the Atari generation. So if you ask me about joysticks, the first joystick I think of is Atari, right?
Yes.
So that's how I control things. One joystick and one button. That's, but then if you think about kids today, right, they're on computers, they're on PlayStation, where now you've got these like remotes that have several buttons and they do crazy things all at the same time.
Right.
So the operators are shifting too, and we're still not catching up with them. So I think it's just, again, people get used to what they do on their equipment, and then there's just this change in technology that we're also starting to overlook the operator. I think some people think we're supposed to spring past them and go right to autonomous, and that's not here yet.
Sure.
And I think that's the other reason people are forgetting about the humans.
So that's like an interesting philosophy or approach, to take to the design of your products, essentially. So can you tell us more about that? I mean, what does that? How does that operate? Are you interviewing operators? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so we actually, when we're allowed, and we always ask our OEMs if we can, we'll actually go out for an entire day. We like to be there in the morning with the operator. So like if they say they get in at 4 o'clock in the morning, we get there at 4 o'clock with them, and then follow them for a full day, their full day of working. And we do a lot of filming with it. Actually, which has turned into several different videos we have. But then we look at the videos and we try to not only after the fact. So you spend the whole day, you're really asking a lot of detailed questions, or as we like to say, be really dumb and ask them a lot of whys. Right. Almost to the annoying philosophy of that.
Right.
And then just spend the day. And then at the end of the day, compare your notes with what they told you with what you see in the film. And then that gives us so much more insights. It's kind of amazing to see what people will say, or, when they feel relaxed about it. We just had one a week ago where we were working with an OEM, we were talking to an operator, and the operator said, "Hey, I've never understood why this joystick is in this position. It would be so much easier if it was on the right-hand side, if this one of 4 joysticks was on the far right, because then I can do these 2 functions at the same time." And the OEM and I looked at each other and we're like, "Oh, wow, that is amazing. Why didn't we hear that before?" Right?
Yeah.
So it's those things you learn quickly, right? And we just feel like that's, put the operator at the center, and we learn a lot of great things from the people who actually use your equipment.
Yeah, that must really benefit your whole design process, to a great degree. And then you're delivering, I'm assuming, benefits back to the end user because it's a more human-centered design. Can you talk a little bit about what those benefits might be to the end user as a result?
Easier use, number one. The other one that we've seen quite a lot is it not only benefits the existing users, it's also one of the biggest benefits is reducing the time it takes to get somebody trained. Because it's we're not seeing it as it's more intuitive. The more intuitive the remote is, the easier it is to train somebody on it, especially when they're working with the equipment. Because there's always learn the equipment, but then to learn the remote on top of it, it's that intuitive phase. I would say that's probably one of the biggest ones is reducing that up time of getting a new user working.
Yeah.
which is definitely in this world today of not having a lot of employees or finding it hard to find employees. That's a good thing to get.
That's
So when
gotta
you
be
get somebody, you
huge.
get them up and running faster.
I'd also like
Oh,
to add to that by connecting with the operators and asking what their opinions are of the designs and what they would like it to be, not only is it more intuitive, but it's also we find it's safer as well. They can uncover some positions that they could get in that could be unsafe, and with the remote that can help that.
yeah. Yeah. Well, like you said, it's more intuitive to the operator, and you get all those extra benefits as a result. It's more natural, I guess, right?
Exactly. And then also, I'm sure we're going to talk about it as down the road, but the operators are constantly looking for additional feedback from the machine as well, and knowing what they're looking for and knowing some of those data points that can help them operate more intuitively and safely are very key.
We'll continue with the show in just a moment, but first let me share some exciting news about our Fluid Power Forum podcast. We're launching Fluid Power Forum Plus, a premium listener membership offering exclusive content and special event opportunities for our most dedicated listeners. When you sign up for free on the NFPA website, you'll be able to unlock exclusive episodes, live recordings, transcripts, and invitations to private networking events, each offering even greater insights into interesting and innovative applications of fluid power technology. The first of our special events is now being planned for the NFPA Technology Conference being held at the ConExpo ConAg Trade Show in March of 2026. Fluid Power Forum Plus members will receive discounted registration for the conference, plus an exclusive invitation to attend our live taping of the podcast there, and a members-only networking reception following that taping. This will be a huge opportunity to gain insights into the innovations happening in fluid power technology and to meet up with fellow listeners and build your network. And that's just the start. More exclusive benefits will be announced soon. To register, head over to nfpa.com/plus. That's nfpa.com/plus. Well, Andy, is that really what we mean by a HMI, a human machine interface? Or is that does that mean something else in this world?
No, exactly. HMI in our world is a human machine interface.
Yeah.
Most of our OEM customers are already designing these HMIs. A lot of times all that information isn't necessarily pertinent to the operator while they're operating the machine, but that can all be displayed on our display
So
to the operator.
The HMI not only is the vehicle by which the control of the application is occurring, but then the feedback is coming back to the operator through a variety of displays and other sensors, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Go
ahead, Jason.
I was just going to add that, it's basically like when the most generic term for HMI would involve the joysticks, it involves the remote, involves all of those items.
Right.
And then the display is the feedback from the sensors that are now being put on. And I think that's the big change that we talked about, I know, in February at our annual meeting with NFPA.
Right.
And then that we brought back up at IVT is the prominence of displays are everywhere now. I think everybody's very used to carrying a phone around, and now it's become very natural for people to want a display on a remote that's now not maybe, no longer, when we're no longer attached to the machine and we're carrying a remote, they still want that display to get the feedback from all the sensors and all the information that can be gathered from the machine.
Yeah.
So
I remember you guys showed kind of a progression of useful information coming back on those screens, if I recall it correctly, at the show as part of your presentation, where it depends on how you design. You can put the information on the screen in so many different ways, but there are ways to do it where you can tell what's going on with the machine at a glance, right? As opposed to trying to interpret, it says 65 on a scale of 1 to 1,000. So is that good or is that bad? Right? Am I remembering this right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, in fact, that was the one that Andy, we'd kind of set it up. So Andy was making me look dumb
Yeah.
because we had said, hey, we threw up 3 numbers, and Andy's like, Jason, this one says 65. What,
Right.
and this other reading says 128. Do these look good to you? And I'm like, I guess that's good. Maybe that's not good. What is that one for? Right. And I think that's exactly what we were getting to the heart of, is that if you just show numbers on HMIs, which unfortunately I still see a lot of people do,
Yeah.
then you really have to train the operator to know, are they in the tolerances, or know, is there a trend on this? And what we always try to encourage people to do is to think about that. How can you give very quick information to the operator with that screen so that they don't necessarily have to know that, 65 Celsius, which is quite hot, is okay for that machine, right?
Right.
Whereas then if we can see a trend line with it, or if we see just some bars around it to say it's moving left or right, or hey, it's getting red or pink or whatever other color.
Yeah, I was going to say,
So instead of just giving numbers, giving more, what is behind it, and what do you need to know, right? When you're in the right tolerance, when you're not, those kind of things.
like the color code is the obvious example. A green 65 versus a red 65 means two different things, right? to the operator.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then taking to the other thing we always say too, then also taking into effect, what about color blindness?
Yeah.
Do you have a way to switch to that, right,
Right.
for somebody? So
Yeah, there's always there must be a million different permutations of how individualized can you get to the operator with these systems.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, can you give us any practical insights into the integration or the deployment of these HMIs? Are there any applications that you want to describe or that really jump out?
Camera systems with feedback are a huge one. We're getting more and more questions about putting a camera somewhere on the machine and having that feedback to the HMI.
Mm-hmm.
So the operator can potentially be behind what they're looking on or what they're working on, and then have a view of what they're working on through that camera lens. So that could be a backup camera, that could be the end of a boom, that could be, on a fire truck. There's so many different applications that we're getting now that are asking for camera feedback is one of the things I can point out for sure.
That's a great example.
And
yeah.
to add to that one, though, that actually we're getting more and more requests too, is the camera systems are getting more intelligent. So not only is that camera there, but then going back to making an easier HMI, having the ability to put boxes around people walking on the job site. So let's say you're working with a crane that's loading drywall, right? Like as you're lifting and moving, the camera might spot that, hey, there's a person over here, and give that quick feedback again, like a quick green box or red box around them. And then another application I'd highlight, the one that we showed at the video at the IVT was really good one. It was actually one of our customers, Conjet, and they make basically a water jet that's being used to help basically break up concrete.
Mm-hmm.
That one, they use a lot of different things there. The HMI was really intelligent because that's actually a semi-autonomous machine. So the operator needs the feedback of making sure the machine's doing what it's supposed to, and then giving feedback to the machine to make adjustments so that the human's making the decisions for what the machine should be doing, but he needs that feedback in an HMI in a very nice, practical way. One of the reasons I really like their displays is they have several screens, but each screen is very limited in what it's showing. So it's very practical. You're not overwhelmed with like 5,000 pieces of data. You really got like 2 to 3 things on each screen that tell you what you should be, what's going on.
Right.
And they have a nice system too to then alert you to go to the screen that if you're to look at. So that one I love. Again, I love that one because it is semi-autonomous. That's really a good example. The human has not been left out of the equipment, right? They haven't tried to go full autonomous because they realize the human is needed.
Right.
But then they do a great job keeping the human up to speed.
Yeah, that feedback back and forth is interesting to me, at least. That that it's you're observing and controlling, and it's helping you along at the same time. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other interesting applications that you guys are working on that you want to talk about?
There's a lot going on. I think from an HMI standpoint, a lot of, let's say, some new technologies that are, without giving too much into it, there's, let me see, one of my favorites, sorry, we're working on lately. Yeah, that's a good question because I'm trying to think of the best one to give you. Eric,
that's all right.
Andy,
Hey, Jason, we can discuss, like, we were getting a lot of questions from a semi-autonomous type of, I would say in agriculture is a big one as well. We see ourselves as the link like Jason was saying earlier, between full autonomy and traditional agricultural products. Some of these products can go up and down, spray for weeds, plant seeds, but at the end of the day, they're going to have some sort of controller at the end.
Yeah.
um, and we're seeing a lot of questions for that. So basically, one remote control can control several different autonomous machines, and through that HMI, they can pick and choose which ones they want, what activities they want that machine to do, and so on. So a lot of companies are coming to us to say, hey, we need help stopping this machine safely if it gets off the autonomous track, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Very exciting.
it's huge in terms of that productivity question is really what it comes down to. That's why the autonomy is becoming more and more prevalent, right? So, and the control and the interface is part and parcel of that productivity. It sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what insights can you guys share about what you see coming next? What's the future of the technology that people should be watching for?
I talked about this at IVT. The first thing I would say is the integration of AI from a help standpoint to the operator. I think I know some companies already are working on that.
Yeah.
So basically, to integrate almost like I always like to joke the old paper clip. I think it was called Clippy with Microsoft, right? It was the first one of those that existed.
Right.
I think you're going to see more and more of that being introduced, even to that level. Not only with our customers and OEMs, but I think you're going to see it being brought into the remotes where
Right.
we're working now. That's number one. And then I think, and I keep talking about this one, and my guys know I'm playing with some of the technology. There's AR glasses that are out there now, are not like the old Microsoft big heavy goggles. These are really kind of like a little bit bigger than the Meta. Well, they're about the same size as the Meta glasses that are out there.
Right.
They're real screens. I have a pair of these. I can put them on that I can actually see real computer screens. And I think that's going to be the next thing we're going to see, movement towards moving away from a display on the actual remotes to one that you wear. So that augmented reality will become more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
It's going to take a couple of years. And I think that's also because, controls wise, we're all being asked about cybersecurity. So I think a lot of controls people, whether it's us or even the big guys like Danfoss, IFM, et cetera, we're all trying to make sure our products are meeting the new safety levels out of Europe and the cybersecurity. So that's the other technology push over the next 5 years to ensure not only that things are safe for the operators and what the information we're giving them and helping them be safe, but actually that the technology itself is safer with everything else that's going out there. Unfortunately, cybersecurity has come to equipment now.
Yeah, well, it kind of has to. I mean, everything is so connected, and bad actors can get in almost anywhere now because it's all connected to the cloud or to the internet. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of movement, as we've talked about, in terms of technology development in this space, and you guys are certainly on the cutting edge. It's great to hear about these innovations coming to the mobile equipment and to obviously the hydraulics that is needed to operate these machines in so many ways. Any closing thoughts for our listeners about where you see this technology going?
I'm excited to see what direction I would call the video game generations will take us in.
Yeah.
I just think we're going to have electronics on more and more things. It's a very obvious statement, but how is this younger generation going to drive that is something I'm very curious about to see.
And I'd like to add to that, we want to be challenged. I think there's more out there exactly with new and newer technologies that are coming that we always want to be challenged. So if somebody has an idea, we'd love to be involved in that. We're seeing that a lot. I mean, we travel to different trade shows outside our industry just to get ideas too about not only where the technology is going for sensors and other things on equipment, but then also what are ideas on the way remotes or even what is a remote is going to be. I think that's going to change over the next 5. If you look out beyond 5 years to 10 years, I think it's going to be a lot more integrated with us.
Right.
More movement, things that wearables is probably something that is going to start really become part of a remote control setup for equipment as well. Well,
when you were talking about the glasses, about having the I don't know, what do you call them? The virtual screens that
Yeah.
the glasses project, if you will. That's probably just a step or two away from, the optical control, right? Where that it can track what your eyes are looking at, and maybe that's a new horizon for the control of the machine itself.
Well, actually, that's something that we offer as a service. We can actually
Already.
track people's eyes, what they're looking at machines, and then give you an indication of what they look at. That's
Yeah.
been a really cool technology for us. It's not quite where we're saying, hey, we're going to use that to control a piece of equipment. Like, hey, I want to look over in here and move that whatever
Right.
box or anything else over there with a piece of hydraulic equipment. But we're definitely at the point that we can start seeing it. So,
Great.
and that's the beauty of where we are. I think there's just so much more out there that's coming that can be integrated together. I'm pretty excited because I don't know if you're aware too, Eric, there are many new products that are going to launch in 26 that were designed by AI. So not only was I talking about AI being a help to the industry and helping operators, it's actually going to also start helping engineers too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see the launch of those products next year, where people are saying, nope, this was designed by a virtual engineer, basically.
Yeah. That'll be exciting. It's the future, no question. All right. Well, that is going to wrap things up for this episode of Fluid Power Forum. My thanks again to Jason Looman and Andy Gray of Scanrico, who have been my guests on this episode. If you want to connect with them, you can send them an email. We'll put a link to their email addresses in the show notes for this episode, and I'm sure they would welcome anyone reaching out seeking more information about their company and their products. Remember, if you like our podcast, follow us on LinkedIn. You'll get a lot of updates there about what's going on with the show and other programs of NFPA. We're on LinkedIn at the National Fluid Power Association. And please keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. It's a great way to let us know about the systems and applications that you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. Fluid Power Forum is a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lanke, reminding you to join us next time in the forum.